The bids are in. The gavel has dropped. Ladies and gentlemen, here at WineBid, we are finally hammered. This is our podcast here at WineBid on all things wine value and wine retail and wine auction mostly. Well, that is retail, Paul, if we're being honest with each other today. I like to keep it real, as you know about me. My name is Jeff McGurn. I work on our marketing team here at WineBid. With me, as always, is our wine auction expert and wine expert, Paul Walker. Welcome, Paul, to another episode. At this particular episode, we'll be talking about all the amazing French wine coming to auction. Just to set the stage here, Paul, every single week, like literally the minute like the auction is over and all the new stuff gets pumped into to auction for the next week, Paul and I are looking through every single new bottle that comes into auction to do this podcast, right? We look at everything.
Many of them. A lot of research. We look at many of them. I have to say that things do get added after Sunday night.
They do. They do. And there is stuff that we miss. So I spend Sunday night, Monday, pretty much all day looking at stuff. To me, there was like a theme this week because we had a ton of new stuff coming to auction, a lot of great stuff. As I was looking through it, to me, this is like the bargain Bordeaux and Burgundy week. There was a lot of really affordable stuff coming to auction because some weeks you see stuff coming to auction and it's like 200 bottles of first growth and a ton of this Grand Cru Burgundy and everything. Right. I mean, and granted, we have stuff all over the place. So there's always stuff at lower price points too. But there was a dearth of stuff in the $20, $30, $40, $50, $100, $200 price range, which I thought was really interesting stuff, particularly in Bordeaux and Burgundy. Whereas we didn't seem to have, it wasn't as weighted towards the high end. Just running right into that, let's talk about Bordeaux. 2016 Léoville Las Casses, right? We've got three of these, $280 a bottle. This is an epic bottle. But it's been lowering in price since it sold for $300 in the fall of 2022. We're down almost 10% on the price of this bottle at $280. I'm just curious to get your thoughts on, Léoville Las Casses and the 2016 particularly coming in auction at $280.
Yeah, it's funny because it's triple 100 scores and it's a great vintage. So dropping below that $300 price point's a little funny to me. I think it'll eclipse that again. It'll probably be like the 1990 and another great vintages where it's going to go for over 300 probably consistently. So now's the time to buy it, right?
Well, that was kind of my thought process. Like you said, it's triple 100-point scores. It's an amazing vintage. This is something it's dipped in price a little bit. Yeah. This could be an optimal time to go and pick up that bottle because as long as you're storing it well and you can show the provenance, I don't see that bottle really dropping in price over an extended period of time. Quite the opposite. 10 years from now, that's probably what, $500 or more or something like that. Yeah,
I would imagine, unless the vintage falls apart or something.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. I mean, people could just stop being interested in Bordeaux and
the 1982s are not going to last forever, and there's already talk about some of them falling apart. So there you go.
2015 Chateau Smith Eau Lafite. This one, we have two of them, 125. I don't know. I think for the price, this one punches above its weight, and we've got a mag of it for $240. Where do you stand on the Eau Lafite?
It's one of those wines where I think it got pushed up in price and kind of. I love the 15 vintage label too because it's very fancy. It's black and gold, and I think there was a bit of rebranding going on, which always kind of entertains me in France when they do these things, especially in Bordeaux. It was a phenomenal vintage. Don't get me wrong, but I think sometimes it looks like things are trying to be pushed, dolled up, as it were. It was never tremendously expensive. And I think this wine might be part of one of our favorite clubs, which is the more expensive white wine club. I believe there are some examples of Smith Eau Lafite Blanc that cost more than the red. And that doesn't mean anything. I actually flagged a couple of bottles of Domaine de Chevalier this week, which is always cheaper than the white.
I flagged some Domaine de Chevalier as well.
Yeah, because I thought it was a great deal. I thought the 16 and 18 at 65 and 85 respectively, that's not expensive. But Smith Eau Lafite for what is it again? 125. It seems a little steep to me. And not that it is going to drop in price. I don't think it's overpriced for what it is, but it just seems a little high.
One that I was super curious about, and I really wanted to get your thoughts on, a 1961 Garde La Rose, because this is one we love to talk about.
Sure.
For a mere $995, if you listen to this podcast or you buy Garde La Rose, $1,000 for a bottle of Garde La Rose, as amazing as I think it is, still seems excessive even for a 61. Now, don't get me wrong.
That's a lot.
That particular one has amazing tasting notes, even recent tasting notes. But and we have a lot of Garde La Rose that came into auction this week. $1,000 even for a 61 seems like a lot to me.
Yeah, I think, I got to say, I think this price is going to drop, especially considering those bottles are showing signs of seepage. They're probably going to have to come down. Mm-hmm. That's probably that $1,000 price is probably reflective of sort of external market, examples, because I don't think we've sold it for this much in the past, but it seems a little high to me.
That one seemed a little excessive. The other Garde La Roses I thought were tremendous deals, though. Even at full price, Garde La Rose I still feel like is a tremendous deal because it's such a good producer.
Yeah.
And again, I have to mention, it is a second growth producer, right? Like, and I don't know why it just does not get priced like that, because the juice is good. I should probably stop saying that, because if we keep saying that, then it will start to get priced up. There was a ton of awesome Sauterne that was coming into auction this week. Yep. I don't know if you noticed that. Just to name off a few: 76 Rio Sec, right, for 750 milliliter for 110, and there's a bunch of other Rio Sec at auction. There was a Suderat 01 for $85. Epic year for that producer, an amazing price for the age, right? And there was a ton more from that producer as well. 88 Clemens for $90. Another one, that's a great year for Clemens, and it's a fantastic price. It's 35 years of age. That's
Clément. I got to correct you on this one. It's Clément.
What? That's what I said. Isn't that what I said?
I know a lot of people say Clemens and nobody cares, but
I think
it's like, even though my ears are covered, it actually still hurts them when I hear that kind of pronunciation. So there's 88, although 88 I would say is a much better deal. $90 for 750 versus 55 for a half bottle 86. So I think I would opt for the 88. I think it's a stronger vintage anyway. And
it's a strong vintage, great bottle. $90 for a 35-year-old bottle of Sauterne that you could pop open today, and I'll bet you tastes unbelievable.
Yeah, that's true. Did you see there's an 83 half bottle Clos Perrier for 25, which is a great deal. Well, you didn't put your bid on it, so it's too late now.
I know, right? Somebody else is going to pick that up. The 90 Raymond Lafon for $30. Somebody's already bid on that, so it's up to 31. Like $30 for something with 33 years of age on it. 750 the 09s for $45. There's just a ton of great Sauterne coming to auction this week in sweet wine. That's what I was saying. Like, I feel like this really is a good bargain week, because there's a ton of amazing stuff with good age on it that's coming to auction at very reasonable prices. There was also, you mentioned it, but I'll point it out. But I picked out the 2015 Domaine de Chevalier, $90, solid reviews on the bottle. But you're right, there's a bunch of other Domaine de Chevaliers in auction they're doing great. And then Chateau Beau Séjour Besso.
Baco. Yeah.
Baco. 2015, that one, we've got 5 of those at $65. I mean, this was a top 100 wine spectator wine. It's highly regarded. It gets great reviews.
Wait, did you say 2015?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry. I wasn't even looking at that. It's let's see. I was looking at the Beau Séjour Bécot, but there's Beau Séjour Dufaux 15, which is a different wine, but at 130, is that the one you said?
No, the one I've got is $65.
Oh, interesting. Oh, because it's Beau Séjour. That's right. It's the words are split up. I'm sorry. Yeah, 2015 Beau Séjour Bécot at 65. That is a good deal. That is a good deal.
You're not going to go wrong with that wine. I mean, that's solid for Bordeaux.
Yeah.
What other Bordeaux are you looking at right now?
I just flagged a couple because there was so much other stuff.
I kind
of just
so much other
over
stuff.
it. There was a bottle of Valandro Blanc, because I always like to point out interesting white Bordeaux, and so that was interesting. There was this 19 Valandro Blanc. This wine, Valandro, was always known as this sort of Vin de Garage back in the late 90s. It was a very big deal, and still excellent stuff, still very expensive, but you don't see the white very often. And so that stuck out to me because the 19's up, it's got bids on it. There's 2 bottles. They have bids at 77 right now. And then there is a bottle of Mouton Rachel's white Bordeaux, the Eye d'Argent, for 160. That's in the 19 as well. And so that stuck out to me because it's, rare and interesting and fun to see. And then there's a 3 liter of 03 Sociano Mallet or Mallet. Mm-hmm. I never knew actually how to pronounce that, but
I saw that.
225 for the 3 liter. I thought that's a great party bottle if you need to bring something to a big event, and it's going to be a crowd pleaser. It's 03. It's a ripe vintage, very hot, but should be a lot of fun and not terribly expensive. And then there was an 03 in Montrose and 2010 Montrose, which stuck out to me as well because I just think that wine is amazing. And 03 again, a bit of a controversial vintage, very hot, but I think that's from them, it's probably fantastic. There's 4 of the 03s at 195 and 3 of the 2010s at 210. And actually that was it. I was on to other parts of the country.
Let's go to Burgundy because I think there was a lot of this one. I actually thought was really cool because I thought there was a lot of really really affordable Burgundy, right? Well, affordable in the grand scheme of things.
Relatively speaking.
Relative. I mean, what I mean is like relative to other Burgundy. Like some weeks we look at Burgundy and everything's like $500 to $20,000.
Yeah.
This year,
that's funny. I have the same impression because I'm looking at all the wines that I picked, and there's only one 4-figure wine. It's Truchot Martin, so it's Jackie Truchot. It's extremely rare, no longer produced, but I always like to point these out because they're very, very exciting to see. That was the one 4-figure wine, 1115 for the 05 right now. It's the Jaber Chambertin Combat Old Vines. So that's around. But yeah, everything, you're right. Everything else, there's a bunch
everything else is like, yeah. I mean, and actually there's a decent amount of stuff sub $100.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot. And there, I felt like there was a lot of really good stuff it was not necessarily Grand Cru and Premier Cru, but it was still very solid, good Burgundy. Right. So let's talk Grand Cru here for a second. This one I thought was interesting. 2010 Louis Jadot Chapelle Chambertin.
You're going back to your old standard Negociant Jadot.
Well, here's why I picked that. So, okay. Yes, it's Jadot, right? However,
no, I know. I'm just giving you a hard time. Some of the best wines I've ever had were made by Jadot. So I just like to give you a hard time.
This one is a Grand Cru Côte de Nuit, and it's $160. Is that the right price for that bottle? Maybe. But you compare that to other Grand Cru Bergs you're going to get from the Côte de Nuit, and you're obviously going to pay a lot more for $160. I still think that's potentially a nice steal. It does get solid reviews and solid tasting notes.
No, it does, and it's gonna be far less expensive than than other producers. And you're right. It's all about, I think, perception and knowing the wine, right? If you know that wine, you've had other wines comparable to it from the same vineyard and vintage, but different producer, and you'll know why it's a good deal or not. So that's a good example for sure.
Yeah, look, is Jaillet or Rousseau better? Yes. Is it 20 times better than this bottle? I don't know. I've never had.
No, and so it's funny because I picked 2. Like sort of, a couple of them are over $100, but there's a trio of Domaine Mazy Chambertin in this week. There's 2000, 2006, and 2009. Interestingly, the 06 and the 09 are the same price. They're both $150, and the 2000 is $135. Actually, 8 bottles of the 2000, which is pretty interesting. And that wine, I think, quality wise, Mazy Chambertin, you're not going to see that vineyard, at that quality level for anywhere near that price. So that was one that stuck out. Also, there's a '05 Jante Pancio Charme Chambertin. It's a little bit more, but still for a great vintage. And it's at 180, not too expensive. There's also 96 Jante Pancio Gevrey Chambertin Genois. So it's Premier Cru, but $60 for the Genois 96. I didn't think that was too bad at all. There's also 99. Speaking of great red vintages of the 90s, there's 99 Jean Griveaux Von Romane at 85. There's 2 bottles of that. And I thought that was quite fair. Skipping ahead to a much more recent vintage, but also very, very hot producer. There's a Fourier Chambertin 2015 for 180, which considering Fourier, I think the Clos Saint-Jacques is way more than that, and the other Grand Crus are far and away more expensive than 180. So that was another great find. And then 18 younger vintage Mayo Camazé, Domaine Mayo Camazé, Clos Rougeau. The 18's at 260. I think to get into wines or producers, I should say, like Mayo Camazé, you're not going to find Grand Crus for less than $300. So I thought the 18 Clos Rougeau at 260 was not not crazy expensive.
I also noticed there was a lot of Marquis d'Angeville coming into auction this week. There was a 96 for 320.
Was it Clos de Dukes or something, or
it was the Clos de Duc Volnay. The bottle, according to the most recent tasting notes, the bottle's still kicking.
That's great wine.
I have my eye on the 18 Henri Gauge, Nuit Saint Georges, Claude de Forêt, Saint Georges.
You gotta start getting some of these Gouge wines. I want to see what you think when you taste them, because that's an acquired taste. Those are seriously tannic and difficult wines.
It is, but it is also seriously only $60.
Well, that's the thing. I think
for a Premier Cru,
it's still underpriced. I think considering, but man, they can be challenging.
1999 Joseph Voulot Pommard Les Rougenes. That one 105. There's a bunch of that producer coming to auction. 24 years of age, and again,
who's the producer again?
Joseph
Voillot,
Voillot. 2015 Thierry et Pascal Matro Merceau Carmez. That one $75. I mean, you're talking a Premier Cru Merceau for $75.
Oh, Merceau Charme. Yeah.
Or sorry, Merceau Charme. To me, that seems to be a pretty decent price for a Merceau Charme, right?
Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it's not, you're in a different category as far as Merceau is concerned with some of the other big stars that we see, but that's not terrible. It's not a bad price.
What about I'm curious to get your thoughts on the Domaine Maillard, Corton Renard.
Maillard or Moillard? How do you spell it?
Maillard, Maillard.
I don't know those wines. I don't know. I saw that, but I don't know Domaine Maillard at all.
This one, Grand Cru Côte de Beaune for $75.
Yeah, it's okay. I think within Corton you could probably do better at the same price point, but hey, I'm just making more of a point to argue against you this week.
well, look, here's the thing. Maybe you can. That's fine. I just still think it's great that you can find, Grand Cru Corton Rouge for $75, right? $75 is not a crazy investment. And then the 2015 Au Pied du Mont Chave Chassagne Montrachet, that one $70 for a Premier Cru Chassagne Montrachet from 15. I thought that one was interesting.
I'll point out 2 new examples of red Corton this week. Michel Gonu, Corton Renard 08 at 120. I think I would
a lot more than 75.
Yeah, but it's going to taste a hell of a lot better too.
120 is more than 75.
Fine. Okay,
as far
fine.
as I know.
Okay, to split the difference, then I'll pick also new this week the 2005 Domaine d'Ardouille Corton Clos at 105. I think there's a fair split the difference.
Here's the deal. You're just proving my point that you can get some fantastic Grand Cru red Burgundy
Well, Corton's full. It's all Grand Cru. That's the thing. Corton's like littered with these Grand Cru vineyards. So yeah, that's why I'm saying. You got to try these. You got to try these wines.
Wine here, Corton's littered with Grand Cru.
Well, it is. That's why it really comes down to who's producing it, what parcels, and what parcels of the vineyard. So that's why we got to have a series of blind tastings here.
Yeah, but come on, let's be honest. If I said there's a bottle of Corton Grand Cru across the street, you cross the street to go drink a glass of that.
No, I want to know who it is. I'd be like, Jeff McGurn made that stuff?
I'd be like, Paul, I see a bottle of Corton Grand Cru over there. You want to cross the street and drink? You'd be like, I need to know who it is before we walk across the street.
I'm not wasting the time. I
will cross the street to drink.
I need to know if they've buried the horn, if they've done all the biodynamics. No, you know what? Speaking of, let's just say inexpensive for the producer, I did find a couple fun examples. There's 2009, 3 bottles of the 2009 Coche Bourgogne Rouge at $150 a piece, and you're not going to find Coche for less than $150.
I did see that.
Anything. And I've had this wine. Actually a few years ago. It's fantastic. Yeah, it's very, very good. You're not just getting, just swag, Bourgogne Rouge. It really is a complex, excellent bottle.
By the way, folks, Coche Rouge is what Paul makes his sangria from. That's right. That's all. And
it's funny. Funny side story. I know we have a million things to cover, but when I worked at a little tiny retailer in San Francisco, there was a gentleman who came in and he bought Justin isosceles specifically to make sangria. I'm not joking. He came in and always bought it. And he's like, I make sangria out of it. It's amazing. I was like, really? You're buying this stuff and making sangria out of Justin isosceles? Anyway,
the whole point of sangria.
Whenever people talk about sangria, I always think about that because it's
the whole point of sangria is to make bad wine taste good.
I know. I was like, that stuff's it's pretty good. It's like Passerolo's Cabernet. But anyway, 2 other examples I wanted to mention, and these are in the super, super, super high-end white wine club. However, it's kind of like our Bordeaux Blanc example in reverse. It's like red wines made by white wine producers that are not nearly as expensive as their white counterparts. And Coche Bourgogne Rouge 09 is one of them at $150. And then there's 4 bottles of 1995 Domaine Rouleau Montelly at $85 a piece. Now you will not find Rouleau white anything for less than $85. Maybe the Bourgogne Blanc on release is like $65 or $75, but I mean, good luck finding any Rouleau white for less than $100. But I thought that was cool. It was like 95 Montelly. I don't know how it's drinking now. It's been around for a while, but that was a kind of a fun find. So that was my other, red wine by high-end white wine producers.
I love how you caught like the opposite of Bordeaux white wine, right? Where it's like something somebody makes that they're not known for making, but they also sell sort of on the side, also known as how it's supposed to be anywhere in any business at all. Like the thing you're known for, yes, you should charge more for that. But the thing you're like not known for, like you shouldn't be charging even more for something that you're not like known for making. But somehow that's like a thing.
Yeah.
And
I think with white Bordeaux, it's a different story because there's so little of it. Like there's so little of Mission Haut-Brion Blanc. There's so little Haut-Brion Blanc that it pushes it to these stratospheric heights, because it's rare. Everybody wants it.
You know what else is rare? The wine I make. It's also terrible.
O2 Oudelat Noyat Romani Saint Vivant. There's a bottle of that right now for $700. That's very rare stuff. And, now it's 21 years old. Phenomenal, seriously good wine. That's in for $700. There's also a producer of Pouligny I'd never heard of, Au Pied de Montchauve. I have to look this up. La Garenne 18 at $80. And so that one stuck out because I'd never heard of it before. We're talking about quote unquote values. There's Domaine Dujac Maurice Saint-Denis, the appellation for $185 for the 15, which I think is Unfortunately, that's kind of an entry-level price for Domaine Dijak, but there you go. And then there was one other thing. 05, that's right. Drouhin Beaune Clos de Mouche. That's one of my favorite red wines from this Beaune, from Drouhin period. I think it's great. They make a white also, but the red Clos de Mouche 05's at 130. And I think that covers all the Burgundy picks. Oh, excuse me. There's a selection of 05 and 06 Domaine Berthaud, Chamaux-Musigny Amoureuse, and Chamaux-Musigny Les Charmes. Amoureuse is, notoriously sort of Grand Cru price. Other producers who make it who are far better known. It's extremely expensive, but we've got the 05 for 400. Sounds like a lot, but for Amoureuse, it's actually not a ton of money. And the 05 Chamaux Charmes from Berthaud is 165 and 160. So it looks like there might be some bids on that, but anyway, those are my picks for Burgundy.
Let's jump down to the Rhone. There was a lot of stuff coming in, a lot of Rhone wines coming in. I feel like there was especially a lot of really affordable Rhone wines. There was a Gugal 2018 Chateau de Nalis Chateau Pape for $55. I thought that was a solid price for a bottle with great reviews. 2017, this one I thought was interesting. Gugal Condro La Doriane.
Oh, La Doriane. Yeah, we've talked about La Doriane.
We talked about La Doriane.
I love that wine.
$100. I think this one, even at $100, I think this one is still a killer deal, because this one's going to be a great bottle. There's a couple things from Chapoutier, a Côte Rôtie, an 85 Côte Rôtie for $55. So 38 years for $50 Côte Rôtie. I mean, this seems like a pretty solid deal. This could still be kicking.
85 from who? Who did you say?
Chapoutier.
Oh, Chapoutier. Yeah, another one of your conglomerate favorites.
Oh God! I love Paul. I don't drink wine made by anything but one person.
No.
If you've incorporated Paul,
I like to give you a hard time. I like to give you just a hard time in general. So I had to. Yeah, but no, you're right. Côte Rôtie 85 looks pretty good. 5 centimeter ullage. Yeah, it's got a bid, but seems
already some action on it.
Yeah.
Probably Sterling, one of our colleagues.
Did you see the Hermitage La Cizeron also?
That was the next one I was going to mention. $90, 13 years of age. I mean, you think $90 is a good deal for that Côte Rôtie?
Oh, for the Hermitage, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's going rate. That's not too bad.
Heading back south in the Rhone, Clos de Pape, Châteauneuf du Pape. This is Bruce I love 2014. I have this bottle. I actually have a case of this. I've been steadily drinking one like every year or so. Mm-hmm. It's stunningly delicious. And
what vintage?
2014 is actually quite good.
14.
For this, I mean, for some reason, and by the way, $90. I think is a solid deal for a Clos de Pape.
Clos de Pape's expensive, so you're not going to get away with finding too many examples under $100 for it. So
not anymore. Used to be able to get it at like Costco for $70. To me, this is a fantastic Châteauneuf du Pape producer, which I feel like doesn't necessarily, and maybe correct me if you think I'm wrong here. I feel like it doesn't get the exposure or the attention of like Boucassel or like but it's very good.
It's good and it's expensive, and I think it gets higher scores than Beaucastel consistently. Again, not that really matters, but it to me it feels like sort of a higher end brand, for lack of a better term, than Beaucastel. I mean, Beaucastel obviously has this crazy, sort of historical importance, and they make the Homage, which is an incredibly serious wine, and the 89 was this phenomenal example, and so they
use all 14 grapes in their blend. And
well, yeah, and I think they just have it's a pretty storied history of some amazing. I mean, the 89, if you've never had it at Beaucastel, is really, really good.
That's what I make my sangria from.
Well, it's controversial because a lot of the bottles underwent secondary fermentation in the bottle, so a lot of them are leakers. But if you find a good one, they're pretty amazing. But yeah, you're right. Clos de Pape, serious stuff. There's a fair amount of other vintages available. There's the dreaded 07. There's a mag of 07 at 320. There's a bunch of it, but anyway. And do you mind if I mention a couple things too?
Go for it. I mean, I still have a lot to mention, but you mentioned a couple things.
Well, I tried to be a little bit selective because there were so many new things. So I didn't want to, pick too many things, but there's a producer that we do not see very often from the Southern Rhone called Chêne Bleu. And there's the Abelard 2013 at 50 and the Eloise 2013 at 46. So it's got a bid. And so these are interesting red wines from the Southern Rhone. I think they're Syrah based. Actually, I could be wrong. They might be sort of GSMs or something. But anyway, interesting Southern Rhone producer that does not come up very often, Chêne Bleu. There's some Provençal Rosé that I feel like kind of snuck in at low prices and people noticed, and it's got bids on it. It's Clos Cibonne and it's Tiburon.
That one, I thought that one was the 2017.
Well, there's 17 at 36 right now.
Yeah,
there's 19. There's the Classé Cuvée Tradition Rosé at 26. So that's obviously got a bid as well. But yeah, the 17 is the Cuvée Spéciale des Vignettes at 36. And I think there's other Clos Cibonne in the auction that's quite a bit more expensive. But these to me stuck out because they look like some great deals. And I wanted to say, Jeff, speaking of let's just call them rare Rhone varieties, Tiburon is actually the great variety, in case you were wondering. I learned this at Provine a few years ago. I had no idea. But anyway, that is one of the many sort of
obviously.
It's one of the varieties that goes into Chateauneuf if you're going to use all of them in Southern Rhone. So.
All 14, I believe. By the way,
14. I thought it was 11, but anyway.
I thought it was for, I don't know why. By the way, did you see the, speaking of interesting sort of white wines, the Rousset Crozes Hermitage Blanc?
No, I don't know that producer. Rousset?
I don't either, but Rousset.
No, I have no idea. I did not see that. $20. Yeah, you don't see a lot of Crozes Blanc.
You don't see a lot of Crozes Blanc. That's why I was like, it's Marsanne, right? And I actually was really, I might even bid on that because I thought it was.
Sure, yeah, it's $20.
$20 is like nothing for that. Oh, and there was a Gillet or Gile, I don't even know, Giles, Barget, Côte Rôtie, Côte Blonde. That one's $75, 10 years of age. There's a bunch of those coming in.
Bars, yeah, it's another producer I don't know. That's I would say median Côte Rôtie pricing right there. I mean,
yeah,
I noticed actually in that area of the world, or close by, I should say, there's a very rare fine bottle of 2014 Marcel Juge Cornas. Actually, there's two bottles at 400. Which is entry level price for Juge, unfortunately. And there's also some examples from Frank Balthazar, which some consider to be kind of a Thierry Allemande protege and or successor. I mean, Allemande's Cornas is insanely expensive. It's also very good. But the Balthazar wines, let's see, the Cuvée Casimir Balthazar 15 is at 55. The Chaillot 13 is at 80, and the Sans Soufre Ajouté, which means no sulfur added, 15 is at 55. So that's for the hipsters. And then there's 14 and 15 Guillaume Gilles Cornas, which is interesting as another producer I'm not familiar with, but those kind of stuck out too, because they're at 75 each for the 14s and then 71 at 15. So obviously someone's bidding on those. Oh, and I have to mention there's some Jean-Louis Chauve Saint Joseph. We do always, or I should say, we often see the Hermitage from Jean-Louis Chauve, but the Saint Joseph, not as much. And it appears to be getting a little bit of some bidding activity right now. So there's 2010 at 90, 11 at 75, 12 at 90, 14 at 60, and I think that does it for the run for me. So see, I'm being very sort of conscientious about time. I'm not, listing off too many wines. So
no, you're doing great. So a couple things I want to mention outside of the Rhone. 09 Bernard Baudry Chinon Lacroix.
Oh yeah, okay. I had some picks from Loire actually.
They're it's $60. I mean, look, you're talking about a Cabernet Franc that's got 14 years of age on it for $60.
Yeah.
And I love a good Chenin. What else did you see?
There's one of my favorite Sancerre producers, Domaine Vacheron, which is very, very good. Prices have come up a lot in the last few years, but
a lot of Sancerre coming into auction this week.
Yeah,
there's a good amount of Sancerre.
The 14 Guigne Chèvre at 45. There's 14 Les Romans at 50. And then there's also the Vacheron de Sancerre Rouge. There's half bottles of the 19 for $20 and then 750s for 40. So those stuck out. And the other thing that really stuck out to me was there's a bottle of 1994 Pierre Boulet Sancerre Chavignon Cuvée Réservé for 80. And this, I'd never seen this before. So that kind of stuck out to me as a pretty interesting rarity from the Loire.
So talking about like us bringing in some cool bottles from interesting regions, there was actually a lot of really cool Alsatian stuff that came into auction this week.
Yeah, there is.
86 Zin Umbrecht Gewürztraminer, Ehrenweg de Turkheim. That one, 115. Again, you get one from, and there's a bunch of stuff, a bunch of Zin Umbrecht from the 90s. Zin de Umbrecht is one of my favorite Alsatian producers. I'm just consistently blown away by the quality they provide for the value. There's just so much value in Alsace as far as I'm concerned. Like the wine, everything I taste there is almost like world class, and yet the prices just seem to be so reasonable when you compare them to other regions. 96 Trimbach Riesling Cuvée Frédéric Emile.
Yeah, the Frédéric Emile. There's some of those in there too. I saw. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, it's great stuff.
$74 for like a top tier Riesling with that much age on it. 1989 Weinbach, Gewürztraminer Cuvée Tia Clos des Capuchins, $55. Again, big fan of this producer. And we have this 89, a bunch of other bottles from them coming to auction this year. Also notable was like a Paul Blanc Gewürztraminer Fürstentum, Villers Vignes, 2001, $25. 22-year-old Alsatian Gewürztraminer for $25. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
How do you not bid on that? Right?
I know. There's actually multiple. There's 14 bottles of the 01 actually. So I think this is something where you could easily secure these at or very close to reserve. I don't think they're going to get bid up that much. So
it's a phenomenal deal for honestly, like all of that stuff. That's all really, really. Look. Alsatian wines, in my opinion, are amazing. And I feel like here's the best part about Alsatian wines for me is I feel like they go with everything. And I eat a lot of Thai food and Mexican food, and they pair particularly well with spicy stuff.
That's true.
Right. From my perspective. Yeah,
it's true. You get a little bit of residual on them and they're just great with all kinds of different flavors. It's absolutely true.
Totally. And especially the Gewürztraminer, it's so floral and sometimes it can be so full bodied. It just complements spicy and particularly interesting foods. What else do you want to run through?
Yeah, no, there's some champagne in that we got to talk about.
Yeah, there's some
somebody unloaded their selection of Jacques Salas, so there's a lot to mention. But anyway, those are very, very, very sought after these days, and it's kind of an interesting range because there's the 99 single vintage brewed at 1200 and the 03 is at 15, and then there's the other Leo D wines. Let's see, there's Le Bout de Clos at 635, there's La Côte Ferrand at 805, and there's Les Carrel at 540. So it looks like most of them, there's multiple bottles of each actually. And then another couple great producers as well. There's Georges Laval Brut Nature Cumière at 2 bottles at 75 each. And then 14, David Leclerc, the Pas d'Ossé Premier Cru Blanc de Blanc L'Artiste at 130. Those don't come in too often, so it's fun to see. And 14 is excellent vintage. That one will probably get grabbed up pretty quick. And then there's these Colin Les Maillons. Let's see, I think it's the 15 vintage at 290, which unfortunately is where they're selling for these days. But all of those are really, really wild wines. Oh, and I thought there's also a bottle of Jacques Salas Substance at $8.15, a couple of them actually, and then the Liodie, the Soudemont at $6.75. So really, really nice selection of champagnes this week that I wanted to mention. And once again, see, I'm keeping it compact and, you know,
honestly, really nice selection of everything this week. There's a lot of really cool stuff. This is going to be a difficult week on my wallet because there's a lot of really cool stuff in auction. And with that, everyone, don't bid against me. Don't bid on anything that I've mentioned, or do bid on everything that I've mentioned. That's what it's there for. But
well, some of them are already too late. So a lot of those bergs,
I know, like a lot of them already had bids, and I was like, oh, I can't bid on these now. With that, that concludes our French wine episode, finally hammered for this week. Happy bidding to all of you, and we'll see you next episode when we talk about U.S. wines that are coming into auction this week. Everyone have a wonderful rest of your week, and cheers.
Cheers.